if you're anything like me, you're gonna take one look at an Async e-bike and you're gonna be taken aback by its unique styling and how well designed they look overall. But what may not be as apparent to you is how much tech they actually pack into this sleek styling and design. And the L5 here next to me follows both of those points to the T, meaning that this is not just another fat tire e-bike coming to the market that's just gonna kind of blend in. And if that didn't pique your interest enough about the L5 here, wait till you hear the price of this e-bike and stay tuned for a way that I will share with you that you can save a little bit of extra money on the L5 or even L3 models. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, JT from eBike Escape here. And as I said in the intro, this is the all new Async L5. This is a fat tire e-bike that I think really shows you what you can do on certain platforms to really help them stand out. This is the standard 26 by 4 inch fat tire e-bike frame that we see, but it sports some very unique styling thanks to its unique frame design, as well as it has some very good choice components in the componentry that are gonna help it stand out. But we'll get to all of that in a minute. Before we get into that, who is Async? Async is a brand that is pretty new to us as well as new to the market. They've only been around for about a year or two now. They have 2 successful e-bike launches. The first one was the A1, which is more of a moped e-bike, I would say, as it comes in at a 1200 watt motor that peaks somewhere close to 2500 watts when in off-road mode. That was launched via a successful Indiegogo campaign. Then they also launched the H7, which is a carbon fiber mid-drive e-bike that has a very unique placement for an integrated battery down here in the frame. Now, that bike has not shipped yet, but if you check the Indiegogo campaign, it was successful and they are actively in production of that model. And they also, via their Indiegogo campaign, have some very active responses to their users. So while they may not have been around for a long time, they are at least active in the community and they appear to be putting out products that are not just rebranded. They have unique styling, unique design, and a lot of tech packed into them as well. Now, one thing that I was very excited to see with the L5 here, as well as the L3, which is the step-through version of this bike, we'll talk a little bit more about some of those differences in a moment. But the thing that I was excited to see is that the price of the L5 and L3 are priced a lot more competitively to the fat tire e-bike market. The H7 and A1 both come in at well over $3,000. Now they pack a lot of features and I can understand why they command that price point. But the L5 and L3 are gonna come in somewhere around the $2,000 price point, but the best way to find the most up-to-date pricing is also gonna be by clicking the link down in the description, as well as a link to the pre-order. And while you're down there, if you make a purchase of any Async e-bike or any e-bike after clicking any of the links down below, those are free and easy ways to directly support us here at eBike Escape. Thank you guys so much in advance for all of the support. So let's take a closer look at the L5, talk about some of the differences that you can get with the L3 step-through model. Then we are going to take this bike to our neighborhood and kind of show you what it's like to pedal this bike around with all of the components, maybe show off some of that tech. Then I'm gonna put this motor to the test up our hill climb test. And I'm pretty excited as this is a 750 watt motor, but it says that it is peaking somewhere close to 1280 watts. Can't wait to put that to the test. And then at the end, I'll give you kind of a pros and cons list of why you should consider the Async bike, or maybe why you shouldn't consider it and you should look at other fat tire e-bikes in the market. So let's take a closer look. One quick note, I know I already said it once, but I just want to reiterate it one more time, is that this is a prototype model. So some things may change slightly before the actual production. Just keep that in mind when we're going over this bike, is that this is a almost finished product and this is a very close representation of what you should receive. So there are 2 versions of this bike. You have the L5 here behind me, which is the high step version, which has your traditional top tube. And then you also have a step through version of the bike. Now, the height range for these bikes is listed between 5 foot all the way up to 6'5". Here's how I, a 5'7" rider with a 29-inch inseam, fit on this e-bike. Here is my full leg pedal extension. Now, this seat is probably just a little bit of the ways out, but if you drop it all the way down, I don't think that this frame is gonna go to a 5-foot rider. I believe that the step-through frame is gonna be spec'd for that 5-foot rider, and this bike is probably gonna go down to, I'd say, I don't know, 5'5", somewhere in that neighborhood. It's gonna depend on with how much comfort you have being on your tippy toes. However, there is a decent amount of height range here in these seats that I think a 6'5" rider could pretty easily fit on this e-bike. Now, the colorway on the L5 here is this gray front frame section that transitions to this black frame in the back. It's really a matte color. You have some nice orange accents around. I'm not normally a fan of orange, but I think that these accent choices they have in the words are very nicely done. Kind of gives it a very modern look. The L3 model had a very nice cyan frame or teal blue section up here and had some very nice modern lettering and other accents around it as well. Now, one thing that is very apparent to me when I'm up close to the frame here is there are a lot of extra bars, a lot of reinforcements, some thick tubing. Makes me think that this is a pretty strong and stout frame. The capacity for this bike is listed as 330 pounds. The bike comes in totally outfitted with a weight of 77 pounds, with the L3 coming in a little bit under that at about 70 pounds. Let's get into some of the componentry that makes up the Async L5 and L3 model. Starting up here in the front, we have these 26 by 4-inch Kenda Crusade tires. Slowing this bike down, we have some Logan hydraulic disc brakes mounted to a 180 millimeter front rotor. And something that's a little bit different on this bike, you do have a bolt-on front axle, but instead of you having those nuts and things that protrude out, you actually have these really nice Allen bolts with kind of dress-up washers to make it look really nice and clean. Above the wheel here, we have a metal fender, both front and rear. Helping dampen some of those bumps while you're putting those tires to the test, we have this nice black stanchioned front fork. This is a 75 millimeter travel front fork. You have no preload adjustment knob on the side, and you have a nice lockout knob with a few adjustment clicks on the right. Here's what that front fork is going to look like while it is absorbing some bumps. Definitely feel the spring pushing back up there, and thanks to that lockout knob on the right, go ahead and dial it up a few clicks. Definitely felt it get a little bit stiffer there. So if you do need to dial it in a little bit, I know you do not have a preload knob, but you do have that lockout knob with a couple clicks, and you can go all the way up to full stiff if you wanted to. Above the fender here, we have this brighter than most front headlight. It's nicely integrated into the frame. It's also a nice sleek front headlight. We'll put a picture of what this headlight looks like at nighttime on the screen now. The wiring coming out of the down tube is very minimal, but you can see there is some extra wiring up here in the cockpit as that wiring kind of wraps around and disappears into the side of the head tube here. Just a different location for all that wiring to be routed into, as it typically goes into the frame down here. Here's a little bit of a closer look at the Model L5 branding on the side of the head tube here, as well as this nice Async brand plate on the front of the head tube here. And above that head tube, we have to talk about these nice high-rise handlebars. Here's a quick look at those. Gives you a lot of room for this large display, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Here's a look at the Logan hydraulic disc brake levers. We have matching locking non-ergonomic grips, both left and right. We have a left-hand thumb throttle. We have our nice rubber 3 buttons to control the display. And as we come over to the right, we have our first look at the 9-speed Shimano drivetrain. Complete with trigger shifter. I really like these under-mounted shifters versus the overhand thumb shifters. Now, I know I may have glossed over it, but I don't think you could miss it. Here's a look at this 5.5-inch LED display. This is a very bright LED display, and I think that is because it is listed as an IPS display, meaning that it's capable of getting quite a bit brighter than other ones that we see. Now, this LED display, like I said, is bright. I can see it with my sunglasses. I can read it pretty well in direct sunlight here, and I even think it is showing up pretty well on camera. Now, of course, if we turn on the headlight, that dims and becomes a little bit harder to see. But if you turn that headlight off as it is daylight time, it is very nice and everything is nice front and center. Starting on the left-hand side of the display, front and center, we have our miles per hour, our speed there. In the upper right-hand corner of that, you'll notice that little number there. That is gonna be what pedal assist level you're in. It is 1 all the way up to 5. Located just next to that, we have our date and time information. And then just to the right of that, we have our battery percentage, as well as a battery indicator to let us know how much charge is in our battery. And if that isn't enough, down here on the bottom, we have the amount of range that is currently left in the bike. So if we turn, we are currently in pedal assist level 5. If we turn that down to pedal assist level 1, now it says we have 120 miles of range. And of course, if say we stop at 3, that number immediately changes. It's a very quick responding display. I really like that. Located just to the right of that, we have our average speed for our current trip. And then we have our current odometer. And for the keen-eyed among you, you may have seen these 2 icons here. This is gonna be like our cell phone signal as well as our location signal. And I don't know if it'll show up well on display, but there is also a Bluetooth, a headlight icon, as well as a indicator for, I think, if there is a fault. Now that cell phone signal and location indicator are on there because of two reasons. A, this bike of course has app connectivity. The app is pretty robust. There's a lot of things in it. You can quickly switch between the different speed limits. But the other cool thing is that this bike has GPS connectivity, and that is not required to utilize your phone to have. Underneath this plate on the frame here, there is a little GPS unit. Now that GPS unit allows this bike to utilize Find My technology. And one other thing that it does that is kind of cool is it actually notifies you if your bike has been moved. There's actually a bike that I have that I got from Ryan that I was riding around, and he kept getting notifications that I was moving his bike around and things like that. So it works from a distance, as we were probably about 20-30 miles away from each other at that time. So really cool to see you can keep a good accurate location and really know if anybody's messing with your bike. Kind of a cool security feature. And one other cool security feature that this bike will have is that you'll be able to create a digital key for locking and unlocking your bike. Now, all of those features I just listed are specific to the L5 model here. The L3 model gets a completely different display that does not have access to all of that connectivity. And one other cool feature about the display is that you have this nice weatherproof plug, which blocks the USB charging port that you can utilize on the bottom of the display to charge your phone while riding. And while we are quickly looking over the frame, you may have noticed you get these two nice down bars. Up here, you have mounts for a bottle cage, but if you wanted to mount maybe a bottle in a more traditional location, there are not bottle cage boxes on here. This is going to be a spot where I'm going to shamelessly plug a product that we sell on our shop.ebike escape store. We deem it the ABC cage, the Mount Anywhere cage. It uses a Velcro strap to actually mount to the frame. You can mount a bottle cage or even a lock anywhere on the frame. You can mount it on this lower tube, underside, really anywhere you wanted. Now, for some of the keen-eyed among you, you may also notice that the battery here is not removable. There is no door on the top or either side of the frame. When I received my Async, the battery was not installed. So let me go ahead and throw that battery in for you real quick. Now, as I've said a couple times in this review, this is a prototype model. So with it being a prototype, when it was shipped to us, it came without the battery installed. All of your models will come with the battery installed, but I thought this was a good time for two things. One, I wanted to show you how to put the battery in and out. It is removable, but it is not easily removable. And number two, I wanted to show off a cool product that I use a lot when I'm out doing riding, but I don't get to show off in videos very frequently, and that's going to be these handlebar jacks here. So getting you up close here, you can see them mounted onto the handlebars. They simply attach via these Velcro straps here. These are the first generation of these, so it means that they have these extra 3D pucks. The new generation that was just released of these, they come with those pucks kind of pre-built in, and they have these nice magnets on the legs. There's one on each side. They can kind of slip together, and they're stored really nicely in a small pack. Just kind of nice way to, if you ever needed to say change a flat tire, or if you needed, in this case, install a battery, we can flip the bike over and we can use this and that side as points 1 and 2. And the third point is going to be the seat. Now here's another product that they make, which is this nice seat cover. It's got some little bit of grip here, so we can flip it over. Don't have to worry about damaging the seat or damaging our handlebars. Let's go ahead and flip the bike over. So to go ahead and flip the bike over, what I found is the easiest is if you push the bike forward and you grab the rear brake. That way you'll be able to pick up the bike. One other quick note too, make sure your seat is high enough so you're not resting on maybe your rear rack or rear fender. So with that rear brake depressed, you get it to about 90 degrees here. And this is about the point where I will try and just like reach down and grab the frame in some way. Now, being that this is an e-bike, it's a little bit heavier than some of the road or gravel bikes I've used this on before, or use these on frequently rather. And now I like to make sure the handlebar jacks are down first. You wanna make sure you get those nicely planted, and then you just simply set it down on the seat. And there you go. Now you have your 3 points and everything is nicely up and off of the ground. And our third point there is gonna be right on the seat. Now that we've got the bike flipped over, you can see this plate here nicely. It's got these little Torx bits on the front and the back. This is the plate you'll need to remove if you want to get your battery in, or in most people's cases, out. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, like I said, ours did not come with a battery installed. So our battery is simply over here, which has this nice Async part here. It's got this nice little LED display on the side. You have your charging port here on the bottom, as well as this is the connecting port that you will use to plug your battery in. And when you pull it off, you have this cable here, which has this nice little twist on and twist off to lock the battery in. And your battery is going to slide right up there into your down tube. Since your battery will already be installed, what you're gonna see is these two Torx bits here and here as well. And then there will also be this Allen key up here. So once you have taken this bottom plate off, you'll disconnect your main wire here by using the quick connect on the back of it. Then you will take out these two Torx bits, and as well as this Allen key, and then you will be able to grab the strap and simply pull the battery up and out. So with that said, I know it's not easily removable, but it is nice that it is removable in the case that either A, you have some sort of catastrophic issue and you have to replace your battery, or if you were riding this bike for 10 years and it eventually runs out of life. As you can see from that video, it's a fairly straightforward process, but it is not an easily removable battery. Now, I say all of that to give you the specs for the battery. So the specs for the Async L5 are you get a 52 volt, that's right, this is a 52 volt system, 20 amp hour battery in the L5 model here. And then if you step down to the L3 model, you get a 15 amp hour battery. There is also a difference in the charging. The L5 comes with a 3 amp charger, where the L3 will come with a 2 amp charger. Both of those batteries are using Samsung 21700 cells. And while the Async L5 is not currently UL certified, the A1 model that they offer is UL certified. So I asked them about that specifically. They said that they are working on it, and I do believe that. Remember, this is a pre-production model, so hopefully that'll be done by the time the bike is released. And the range for both of those bikes is going to differ, of course, due to that battery size. The L5 here has an estimated range from Async of about 40 to 70 miles, whereas the L3 model has a range of about 30 to 60 miles. And those range numbers are helped along by the efficiency you'll get out of this bike via the torque sensor here. I'll be sure to talk about how this torque sensor operates a little bit more in our first-person riding footage. Here's a look at our metal Wellgo pedals, nicely out of the way of the kickstand. We have a Logan hydraulic disc brake in the rear, and then located just behind that, we have these really nice integrated rear taillights. Now, these taillights are, like I said, integrated, and they operate via the brakes. And if you, of course, turn on the headlights, there is a nighttime mode, and then when you actuate the brakes, they get a little bit brighter. Nice to see them located on both sides and integrated in the frame, so you don't have to worry about charging them. Hidden in the rear wheel here, we have a 750 watt nominal, 1280 watt peak, 80 newton meters of torque rear motor. What all those numbers mean, stay tuned to our hill climb test. We will put that motor to the test and see if it is capable of carrying me, a 225 pound rider, up a pretty steep hill. Now, if you do choose to pedal your L5, you get access to this 1x9 Shimano drivetrain. This is a very nice drivetrain. Starts out with a 11 to 32 tooth Shimano cassette, and the chain is actuated over those rear gears via the Shimano Alivio rear derailleur. Now, this is where another difference between the L5 and L3 come. The L3 utilizes the 7-speed Shimano drivetrain. I'm not exactly sure of the gearing. So as well as you get a step down a little bit in the rear, you will also step down your shifter from the 9-speed trigger shifter to a 7-speed version. And then as you follow the chain up to the front here, we have a 46-tooth front chain ring, and both the L5 and L3 are torque sensors. So I believe this front gearing will be exactly the same on both models as well. And then rounding out the componentry, we have this DDK 22 saddle. This is a pretty comfy rear saddle. It is very bike oriented, has a nice sleek design, kind of like the rest of the bike. If you're looking for something a little bit more comfortable, again, shameless plug to our shop.ebikeescape store for some larger seat options. Now you know what makes up the L5 model. Let's go ahead and see how that torque sensor performs in our riding footage. Then we'll test out that motor in our hill climb, and then we will wrap everything up in a little pros and cons list at the end and whether you should consider the Async L5. All right, let's get to some riding. In this part of the review, what I'm gonna try and do is talk mostly for this bike about how the torque sensor operates, as well as kind of show you how the throttle operates and how that relates to gearing. So on this bike in particular, the torque sensor is gonna hopefully provide a more natural pedal feel. We will see how that is, and I will try and translate that to you guys on camera. And another thing about this bike that I want to call out, I did say that this was a pre-production model or a prototype. So being that this is a pre-production model, the bike is locked in Class 2 mode. The motor feels more capable than what it is giving me out of it now, as I have about 9 miles on the bike now. However, it is locked in Class 2 speed, meaning that on throttle power alone, and even if you are pedaling, you will still only get to 20 miles an hour. So to start out, let's do throttle only. And I just kind of want to show you something that I noticed about this bike. So let go of the brake and I'm going to give myself some throttle. I'm in pedal assist level 1, and the throttle is related to the specific speed capped within that pedal assist level. So right now, pedal assist level 1, it's almost walking speed, maybe 3-4 miles an hour. And it'll kind of gradually pick up speed. So I feel myself getting a little bit faster, 4, 5, 6, kind of ramps in the power. Let's go ahead and kick it up pedal assist level 2. So maybe it'll ramp it in a little bit faster. Yep, felt it, 8, 9, 10 miles an hour. It looks like the GPS and the display are pretty even. There we go, 3E, pedal assist level 3 now, 13, 14 miles an hour, and it's gonna kind of keep ramping up. 4, felt a little bit more power come on, 15, 16. I bet you even here in pedal assist level 4, I'd be able to get to that max speed of 20 miles an hour, but let's go ahead and kick it up pedal assist level 5. 17. Looks like okay, 17 miles an hour there. Looks like it's even, nope, there we go. 19, yep, feels a little bit faster than 17. 18, yeah, there you go. And just kind of slowly ramps in the power. It's a nice, easy, approachable bike, and it really, like I said, ramps in the power nicely. Let's go ahead and turn it around now. And let's go ahead and kick it down to pedal assist level 1, and let's kind of utilize those 9 gears. So we're gonna go all the way down to the biggest gear, or gear 1, and here we are. Let's slow it down. Let's see here. And starting out, you get 4, 5 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour. And my legs are naturally wanting to go a bit faster here. I'd kick it up gear 2, 10, 11 miles an hour, gear 3. And I'm trying to keep the same cadence and pressure because the torque sensor will amplify the power that I'm putting in. And I'm doing 12, 13 miles an hour here. 14 miles an hour, I'd have to go up to 4th, 5th, 6th on the shifter side. There we go. Now I'm feeling a little bit of resistance on the pedals here. And it looks like 12, 13 miles an hour. And I could really kind of slow down my legs and slow down the bike. And I could slow down my speed and cadence there. Let's go ahead and turn left here at this stop sign. And then we have a little bit of a downhill, so I'm really not gonna be able to show off any of the pedaling for the bike. So let me just go ahead and talk about how the bike feels. This bike is a nice riding bike. That front fork, it's there. It's a nice coil fork. I prefer air forks, especially for close to this $2,000 price point. I wish that they would have put some sort of air fork on the front, give you that little bit extra tunability. And here we are. We're actually going downhill here. And these brakes, 23, 24, let's give these brakes a little bit of a test. 25, 26 miles an hour, and we're just gonna go ahead and hit the brakes both evenly. Yep, there we go. No problem. All right, there we go. Kept it up. And one thing that I like to test again is I like to try and get up to speed one more time and then try and hit the brakes again just to see, make sure that the brakes are still there. Because you can always get a really one good brake out of them, but it's always if you can do it repeatedly. So let's see. Yeah, no problem there. Those brakes perform pretty nice back there on the hill. I really like these Logan brakes. We've seen them on quite a few bikes all across the price spectrum, and being that they're hydraulic, they perform just as we would expect. And something that's hard to get across on camera here is that the ramp that it gives you power in and out is very nice. And I mean, even right now, pedal level 2, I'm doing 15, 16 miles an hour, just barely moving my legs, and just a little bit more effort. There we go, 18, 19 miles an hour, and that's not much more effort. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and slow it back down here. And I'm gonna leave it in 9th. Actually, I'm gonna shift down to maybe 7, so it's a little bit easier to get started. Kick it up pedal assist level 3 here. And now, I'm probably using a little bit less effort than I just did in pedal assist level 2. Not as much pressure on my legs. I mean, 15, and yeah, you feel the bike giving you power and kind of tapering it out over and over again, like the ramp in, ramp out. Again, 18, 17. So the nice thing about a torque sensor is sometimes on cadence sensor bikes, you're speed capped via your pedal assist level. Meaning that if you're in pedal assist level 1, you'll go to 10, pedal assist level 2, you'll go to 12, 13 miles an hour. On torque sensor e-bikes, it's more dependent on how much power you're actually putting in with your legs and how much power you kind of want to get out of the motor and how easy you want your experience to be. Because right now, pedal assist level 4, pedal a little bit, get around this turn, and I can be all the way up in 9th gear and just put a little bit extra torque here in with my legs, and boom, right to 20 miles an hour. But I can also kick down the pedal assist levels to say 2 here in 9th as well, and give that little bit extra power with my legs. And again, providing a little bit extra, a little bit more, but still get to 20 miles an hour. It's just kind of a nice riding experience. It allows you to really, with the pedal assist level, pick how much effort you want to put in and how you want your pedaling experience to be. Let's go ahead and turn it around here. And we'll shift into pedal assist level 5, and we'll go from a stop here. And we'll go all the way down to the easiest gear. All right, all the way from a stop. You ready? Here we go, start out. Hop up on the pedals, there we go. Yeah, pedal assist 5 really gives you power. I mean, I'm almost 5, 6, 8, 9. I have to shift up, 2nd, 3rd. My mouth can't keep up with my legs. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and we're at 20. Right there. I mean, we got to 20 miles an hour very quickly here. And it shows 21. Let's see. Can this go? Nope. Yeah, it's holding back the power. Like I said, this motor feels more capable than what it is currently unlocked to do, and that is simply just because of the prototype nature of this bike or the pre-production model that I don't have access to override the speed. So now let's see how this bike does up our hill. All right, here we are at the hill climb test. This part of the test I think is really going to put that claim for the motor of 80 newton meters of torque or 1280 peak watts of power to the test. So if you are a frequent viewer of the channel, you'll notice this is a slightly different hill than what I typically ride on. I found a hill that I think has a little bit more of a grade and it's a little bit more direct. So it's just straight into a hill climb test, doesn't really give the bike much time to work up, and you just kind of puts it all to the test. So let's see what that torque sensor does. First time up the hill, we're going to go up under throttle power alone. And as we found out in our riding footage, the power, whether you're in pedal assist level 1 or 5, is slightly different, comes on a little bit different. So I'm going to give the bike the best case scenario up the hill under throttle power alone. Right now in pedal assist level 5, give myself a little bit starting out, and you see, flip it around, and here we go. Boom, we are already into the hill. So there we go. I am not pedaling anymore. Looks like our GPS is showing 15 miles an hour. Again, the specs for the hill will be on the screen now, so you can kind of tell. It's a little bit steeper than our previous hill. I believe it's about a 7.8% grade versus the 7.2. So yeah, but it's also a persistent hill. So it's a hill all the way up, and right at the top of the hill, it tapers off a little bit and then goes down the other side. It's a nice little hill there, it looks like. So the display is showing about 10. GPS is showing somewhere around 12. I think in this case, yeah, there we go. I said the GPS is dropping a little bit now. Yeah, 9, 10. Under throttle power alone, for me, a 225-pound rider, that's a pretty good minimum speed there getting up the hill. I mean, it didn't even struggle. I didn't feel like it was going to slow down or anything like that. All right, let's turn around, go back down the hill, and come back up while pedaling. All right, here we are back down at the bottom. Let's go ahead and go up while pedaling. I need to shift all the way down to pedal assist level 1. And I am in the highest gear, all the way up in 9. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift down. Let's see, there we go. Getting a little easier here. Let's see, there we go. All the way into that smallest, or all the way into the biggest gear. They're the easiest gear is what I'm saying, meant to say. So there we go, 5-6 miles an hour, and I could keep this cadence all the way up, probably, no problem. Not a huge amount of pressure on my legs. If you listen to my voice, I'm not really out of breath. Let's go ahead and kick it up, pedal assist level 2. Felt a little bit more power come on. And remember, this is a torque sensor, so if I put in a little bit more power with my legs, it's going to get me up the hill a little bit faster. But each pedal assist level should also provide a little bit extra power if you don't want to do that. So kick it up now, pedal assist level 3. Felt a little bit more power come on. My legs are probably getting a little easier here, so I would probably shift up there to second, but still in pedal assist level 3. Go up pedal assist level 4. Again, felt a little bit more power come on, gets a little bit easier. Now we're doing about 7-8 miles an hour. Probably kick it up pedal assist level 5, and this should be our maximum amount of power. Yeah, I would shift up here to third on this hill, and I'm still trying to keep the same cadence, and it's getting 9-10 miles an hour. About the same minimum speed that we got on throttle power alone, which is pretty impressive. But one thing to remember, you're gonna use less battery power when you're actually pedaling and providing some of your own power. So, you know, just an idea of how much range you wanna get out of your bike is really going to help you determine how much you wanna pedal and how you wanna get up hills. The bike is capable of throttling up hills alone. And that pretty much will wrap up our hill climb test. Hopefully now you have a good feel for how this bike rides and everything. So let's go ahead and throw you some third-person riding footage. You can see how I fit on the bike, as well as give you kind of a pros and cons list of why you should consider the Async bike and maybe some reasons why you don't want to consider the Async bike. So let's get into it.
As I said a couple times in this review, I was surprised by how much the Async L5 stood out to me, not only for its design, but its also overall feature pack. And when releasing a product set to compete in one of the most competitive electric bike spaces, like the fat tire e-bike area, it's a bit refreshing to see e-bikes like the L5. The L5 does come in at $24.99, with the L3 being offered at $17.99. Both of those prices are post pre-orders though, so if you're looking for the best current price, be sure to check the link down in the description. You should be able to get the L5 for sub $2,000. Using those links down there is also the best way to support us here at eBike Escape. The L5 features a robust and unique frame that boasts a payload capacity of about 330 pounds. The L5's frame also has the added bonus of being offered in 5 different colorways. There's even a special edition pre-order only colorway that's a blend of geometric patterns that ranks as probably one of my top e-bike colorways and designs of 2023. The step through L3 is also offered in 4 unique colorways, as well as a pre-order special colorway. Both bikes are powered by a robust 52-volt electrical system, boasting a high-performance motor with 1280 watts of peak power and 80 newton meters of torque, making it a powerhouse on various terrains. The torque sensor nicely ramped in and out the power and was tuned to be very sensitive. This is great for starting out and getting direct feedback and power, but beginner riders should be cautious when starting out in the higher levels of pedal assist, as the power does come on very quickly. Besides the better pedaling experience, another nicety of the torque sensor is its ability to draw extra efficiency out of the motor and battery, which translates to additional range. Now, the L5 didn't need any help in this department, as it already comes with a 20 amp hour battery and has a claimed range of about 40 to 75 miles, but L3 riders will be happy to know that they can get 30 to 60 miles out of their smaller 15 amp hour battery. Both bikes get the capable Logan hydraulic disc brakes, which is great to see, especially when your e-bike is capable of reaching class 3 speeds. The throttle will get you to 20 miles per hour, and then you'll have to pedal up to that 28 mile per hour top speed, which should be noted I felt required just a regular amount of effort, thanks partially to the 9-speed Shimano Alivio drivetrain on the L5. The L3 does get a more basic 7-speed drivetrain. Async takes a twofold design approach to making different e-bikes. The first is in the visual area, and the second is in the tech area. The L5's most significant tech integration is the Find My feature and built-in GPS unit, which provide enhanced security and that extra peace of mind. Complementing that security feature, you also get a digital key for auto lock and unlock. I do wish that we could have tested out some of these functions, but I do understand that this is a pre-production unit. The bike's bright LCD display stands out, one for being massive at 5.5 inches, but also for its impressive clarity. This is one, if not the first, color LCD display that has been readable in almost any sunlight. It's also an item that feels more fit for a car's dashboard than an e-bike. Some of the above features, like the 9-speed Shimano drivetrain and 20 amp hour battery, are only available on the high-step L5 model and leave the L3 feeling a bit left behind. I'm a big proponent for getting the step-through version of e-bikes and feel that the L3 really being downgraded on certain componentry is a bit of a misstep. Async is also a newer brand and has crowdfunded all of their e-bikes. Both the A1 and H7 were successfully funded and have both begun to ship, so I wouldn't hesitate to pre-order the Async, but understand that the current lead time for both the L3 and L5 models is well into March of 2024.
Async's focus on future-forward tech is refreshing to see, but worth noting that the warranty period is a little bit less than I would like to see at just 1 year. Now, to be clear, this is something that we have seen from other brands, but I do wish that there was always a focus on more long-term warranty coverage. One other negative of this tech integration is the potential for bugs and other electronics issues, and the Async A1's Indiegogo page does have reports from some users stating that they're having app connectivity issues. But if Async's comments and my knowledge of tech are anything to go by, I think this is an issue that is currently being worked on. If you are a current Async rider, please let us know your experience down in the comments with maybe the Async app or with your bike in general.
One last thing you should be aware of is that the L5 and L3 have a less than impressive front fork. I found that for myself, a 225-pound rider, it was entirely too soft and couldn't be adjusted to really fit my needs. And as I've said frequently, the one-size-fits-all frame design could limit riders of various heights, leaving some riders in a less than optimal pedaling position. But overall, the Async L5 is a compelling option for those looking for a high-performance, smart, and uniquely designed e-bike. Its powerful motor, large battery capacity, and smart features make it an excellent choice for both recreational and commuter use. While it has some drawbacks, partially in the terms of app functionality and suspension quality, its strength in performance and design and potential security make it a noteworthy contender in the fat tire e-bike market. So what do you think of the Async L5/L3? Would you take the chance on the tech and support such a cool looking bike? Let us know in the comments down below. And remember everyone, ride safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.